You know, how many of y'all are preppers? Some of y'all are preppers.
Nah.
Well, it is okay to be a prepper. It really is. It's okay to be prepared for what may or may not happen. So you're ready for whatever comes. But you can store up your beans, band-aids, and bullets, as somebody would say. But if you're not prepared mentally and spiritually, all those beans, bullets, and band-aids may not do you any good.
That's right.
But like I said, there's nothing wrong with preparing for what may happen. You never know when a hurricane blows through and you're going to need supplies to get you through a week or two or a month. You never know. You never know what can happen. So be prepared. It's okay. I am. Yeah, that's just the way it is, Anyway, his word this week for me was prepare. Imagine that. Prepare. What's it mean to be prepared? English dictionary describes it in a general sense to fit, adapt, or qualify for a particular purpose. And in use, a service or state by any means, whatever. To make ready. To make ready.
Yes.
That just didn't mean in supplies. To make ready. To set, to establish. To make oneself ready. And here it says, prepare to meet thy God, O Israel, in Amos 4. Prepare to meet. Are you prepared? It's kind of quiet. Are you prepared?
Thinking about it.
You're thinking about being prepared. Well, in Hebrew, there's a couple of words that mean prepare, but one of them is kun. It means to be erect, to stand perpendicular, to set up, to fix, prepare, apply, appoint, render, proper, confirm, direct, faithfulness, fashion, fasten, firm, fitted, fixed, and a few others. So it covers a big ground there. Are you prepared? Are you standing erect? Well, my whole thing here is prepare your heart.
Amen.
Because it says to. 1 Samuel 7:3, it says, and Shemuel spoke to all the house of Israel, saying, if you return to Yahweh with all your hearts, then put away your foreign mighty ones and Ashereth from among you, and prepare Ashtaroth. And prepare your hearts. Prepare your hearts for Yahweh. Have you prepared your heart to Yahweh? Is it ready? Can you stand it? To serve him only, so that he delivers you from the hand of the Philistines. Being prepared in your heart. Are we all prepared? You know what everybody, I don't know if everybody knows it, Ashtaroth is a Canaanite, in the Canaanite region, usually related to a fertility cult. It's a feminine deity. If you didn't know it, I figured I'd explain that since it kind of, not everybody would know. All right, so what happens if you don't prepare your heart? Do you know what scripturally it says? If you don't prepare your heart? 2 Chronicles 12:14, it says, and he did evil because he did not prepare his heart to seek Yahweh. He did evil. If your heart's not prepared to seek Yahweh, can you do evil? The possibility is immense. It's immense. And in Psalm 78:8 it says, and not be like their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation which did not prepare its heart and whose spirit was not steadfast to El. Didn't prepare your heart. Can you be a believer and not prepare your heart?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because you didn't accept him. You didn't walk in his ways. You didn't prepare yourself for him. So you don't even know when he shows up.
That's right.
Prepare your hearts. Oh, his people. Prepare. And in Job 11:13 through 19, it says, if you would prepare your heart and stretch out your hands toward him, if wickedness were in your hand, put it far away and do not let perverseness dwell in your tents. Then indeed you shall lift up your face without spot, and you shall stand firm and not be afraid, because you would have forgotten sorrow and remember it as waters that have passed away. And your life would be brighter than noon. You would soar upward. You would be like the morning. And you shall trust because there is expectancy. And when you have searched, you shall lie down in safety. And you shall rest, and no one would make you afraid, and many shall seek your favor. If you prepare your heart, all this, why should we be afraid? We should fear nothing.
Right.
Prepare your hearts to seek and search out the creator of all things. In Isaiah 40:3-5, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of Yahweh, make straight in the desert a highway for our Elohim. Prepare your heart. It's a highway. Prepare your being. Let every valley be raised, and every mountain and hill made low, and every steep ground become level, and every rough place smooth. If you prepare your hearts and prepare a way for him in your heart. And the esteem of Yahweh shall be revealed, and the flesh together shall see it. All flesh together shall see it, for the mouth of Yahweh has spoken.
That's right.
That's a prophet there. Prepare the way. And in Matthew 3:1, and in those days the Yochanan the Immerser came a proclaiming with the wilderness in Yehuda. This is Matthew 3:2-3:3, and saying, repent, for the reign of heavens has come near. For this is he who has spoken by the prophet Yeshayahu, saying, a voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of Yahweh and make his path straight.
Yes.
Prepare a way. Prepare your hearts. In Mark 1:1-2, the beginning of the good news of Yeshua Messiah, the Son of Elohim, it has been written by the prophets, see, I send my messenger before your face, who shall prepare your way before you. If he's preparing the way before you, you prepare your heart. You prepare the way by accepting Yeshua, accepting him, because he prepares the way before us. In Mark 1:3, a voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of Yahweh, make his path straight. Make your heart straight. Accept him. Cling to him. Mark 1:4. The Elkanah came immersing in the wilderness and proclaiming an immersion of the repentance for the forgiveness of sins. Repent. Clean your heart. Prepare it for the good news.
Yes. Yes.
The good news of Messiah, the good news of the kingdom. Prepare your hearts for the good news and receive Yeshua HaMashiach into your life.
Yes.
Prepare yourself. And all this stuff out here will mean, that's going on in this world won't mean much. I'm telling you. Because his kingdom's coming.
Amen.
It's coming. And you better be ready and prepare your hearts.
Amen.
Thank you.
Well said, John. Well said.
Sam, would you please light the menorah, sir? Were you prepared?
Let us prepare and prepare for Yah's word to be given to us today. Let's invite the sevenfold spirits to give us understanding, to help us to live this word when we leave here, to go out and to proclaim the kingdom, as John has said, and the coming of Yeshua, who has already come and will be coming back. So let's invite the sevenfold spirits today.
Yes. Yes.
We welcome your spirit of Yahweh.
We receive your spirit, Yahweh.
We welcome your spirit of wisdom.
We receive your spirit of wisdom.
We welcome your spirit of understanding.
We receive your spirit of understanding.
We welcome your spirit of counsel.
We receive your spirit of counsel.
We welcome your spirit of might.
We receive your spirit of might.
We welcome your spirit of knowledge.
We receive your spirit of knowledge.
And we welcome your spirit of the fear of Yahweh.
We receive your spirit of the fear of Yahweh.
Almighty God in the heavens, thank you for your greatness, your goodness.
Yes.
Thank you for your steadfast faithfulness. Father, you are the same yesterday, eternally, today, and tomorrow eternally. You will not change. Father, we thank you today that we can trust you with all of our heart and all of our being. And you will not fail us. You will not forsake us. Father, we can walk with you and know you and learn you. Father, we learn about you every day that we live, more and more. Father, we have the great privilege to hear your word spoken to us. We're in a country where we can hear it. We can assemble without fear. And Father, we can come here again and again and to receive your word. Yes. To share, Father, fellowship with your people, and Father, to rejoice in your goodness and praise you, worship you. What a privilege we have to do that, Father. And Father, I thank you today that Barry has prepared and studied and prayed and sought you. And Father, you have anointed him, Father, to teach and to declare to this people today, both here and those who are online. Yes. Father, what you would have us to know. Father, we're listening for your voice and for your word and for your understanding. That we may take this word, Father, and live it and declare it. And Father, with love and compassion for those around us, that we may declare the reality of Yeshua, the coming of his kingdom. Father, that we may open our mouths and speak and declare with all confidence and testify and declare that Yeshua has redeemed us, forgiven us, and given us a new life. We thank you for that. Let our voices go forth and speak. Let our hands be lifted up to you for those around us. Let our prayers, Father, be sought. Seek, Father, that your compassions and your tenderness and your, Father, that you soften the hearts around us, and Father, that we may see them come into your kingdom also. Father, thank you for what your desire is for all mankind. Father, today let your word, Father, fulfill your will and desire today, as your will has ever had in the heavens above. Thank you for all you're going to do. In Yeshua's name, we humbly pray. Amen and amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, brothers.
Bless you. Bless you.
All right. Today's Torah portion is Bashalach, and we are in the book of Exodus, Shemot, the story of those who were called Israel. While the Torah portion begins in chapter 13 and verse 17, we're going to skip down to chapter 14 and begin reading today with verse 8 through 14. Exodus 14, verse 8 and following says, Yahweh strengthened the heart of Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and he pursued the children of Israel, but the children of Israel went out defiantly. And the Mitzrayites pursued them, and all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them, camping by the sea beside Pe Cherioth, before Baal Zephon. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes and saw the Mitzrayites coming up after them, and they were greatly afraid. So the children of Israel cried out to Yahweh. And they said to Moshe, Did you take us away to die in the wilderness because there were no burial sites in Mitzrayim? It's a very sarcastic, rhetorical question, would you not say? What is this that you have done to us to bring us up out of Mitzrayim? You should have just left us where we were, Moshe. We were fine where we were. Is this not the word that we spoke to you in Mitzrayim, saying, Leave us alone and let us serve the Mitzrayites? Can you imagine saying that? For it would have been better for us to serve the Mitzrayites than to die in the wilderness. And Moshe said to the people, Do not be afraid, stand still and see the deliverance of Yahweh, which he does for you today. For the Mitzrayites whom you see today, you are never to see again. Verse 14. Can you read this one with me? Yahweh does fight for you, and you keep silent. Yahweh does fight for you. Go with me, if you will, to Romans chapter 8 and verse 31. We'll push this in here to answer the question that our title is today. Whose side is Yah on? Romans 8:31. What does it say? What then shall we say to this? Now read this line with me. If Elohim is for us, who is against us?
Yes. Amen. Yes.
But we need to answer the question. Whose side is he on? Whichever side he's on is the winning side. Question might be not so much is Yah on our side or are we on his?
That's right.
That's the key. So we began today with this phrase that is found in chapter 13. And in the first sentence, it says, when Pharaoh let the people go. How do you translate that? The Hebrew let go is the word shalak, which is what we have in our title here. It can be let loose, let go, send away, or it can be as forceful as drive out. That is to expel. Which way is it? Did Pharaoh merely say, okay, y'all can go? Or did he say, get up and get out of here? You are not allowed to stay. Last week we were trying to figure out, was Yah saying to Moshe, come here or go there? This week it's the same way. It can be either or. Which way is it? Well, the answer is, as is oftentimes in the Hebrew, yes. Yes. The form of the word can suggest either a driving out or a letting go. It may be seen as Pharaoh opening the door of their prison and then pushing them out. Kind of like what Mom did when we were kids. Summertime, y'all go outside. It's hot out there. She'd open the door and push us out. What do? We stand there looking in the door. I sure wish I was inside. Get out there and play. He certainly did not give them the option of staying in Mitzrayim. However it was done, whether he just said you're free to go or whether he demanded get up and get out of here, either way, the option was not presented to them, stay if you want to, but rather y'all have to go. So the option of that was put to them probably was said something along, go on then, get out of here. In chapter 12 and verse 33, the attitude of the people, not Pharaoh, but the people is described when it says, and the Mitzrites were strong. That word strong there in 1233 equals the word kazak. If I can spell correctly, I did. And it means to be firm, to press upon, or be urgent about. So that as far as the people were concerned, they'd had enough of Israel, and they were very much ready for them to get out of there. As long as they were staying, things had only gotten worse and worse over this series of these plagues. After the firstborn son of every home had died, how much worse can it be? Maybe now they're going to come after the secondborn. Matter of fact, they were in terror that we're all going to die. So the instructions for the Pesach in chapter 12, verse 11 says, and this is how you eat it. Your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. In other words, the commands concerning how that they were to consume this Pesach meal conveyed the idea that they needed to get ready to go somewhere. The child asks their parents when they see they're getting ready to go to the store, Daddy, can I go with you? Well, get your shoes on then. Hey, if he says get your shoes on, that means I get to go. Right? Get your coat, get your shoes. If we're serious about going, do we take a half hour to do that? Hey, if it was my dad, you grabbed your coat and your shoes and you put your shoes on and getting your coat on as you went out the door. Because Daddy's ready to go. Right? The idea was not eat until you're full, find a recliner and take a nap, Johnny. Such as retired people do.
Not yet. This week.
Yet it would seem that some of them were reluctant to leave. Why? Why would you want to stay in a system of oppression? Why would you want to stay any longer where it is confining, restricting, and limiting?
That's what they were used to.
Familiarity. Brings up a valid point, Joyce. They knew what slavery was like. They knew what hard work was like. They were familiar with what their everyday existence was then. They had never been out in the wilderness. They didn't know how to travel in the wilderness. They didn't know how to travel as a group. Think about that. Now, when we do the water libation service at the end of Sukkot, we go off down in the woods or somewhere to wherever the water source is. We're not fighting about who gets to be first in line or second. We just kind of meet as a group and we start filing in to the path, wherever that path is at. In other words, you find your spot. But can you imagine that we got several hundred people in this process? It might be a little bit confusing, especially if it's not a single path with a defined boundary of trees and so forth on either side, but rather it's an open place. Do we know how to travel together? We know this, but if Yah puts us in a different location with a much larger building and much larger space, that first gathering, people are going to come through the doors and look and try to figure out where is it that is going to be my spot. And I look around the room and most of you are sitting in almost the exact same chair, if not the same chair you were sitting in the last time you were here. It's human nature. I'll tell you a quick and funny story. A young couple went into a church for the first time. Never been there before. They were the first ones there. They got there early. They walked in. They didn't know where to sit, so they walked all the way down, second pew on the right-hand side over against the wall, and they sat there. After a little while, this older couple came up and started talking to them. Hi, how you doing? My name is such and so on. After about 3 or 4 or 5 minutes of small talk, there was this awkward silence as the older couple kind of backed away a few paces, and the younger couple heard the wife whisper to the husband, "What are we going to do? They're sitting in our spot." The whole church was empty, besides where they were sitting. They're sitting in their place. Learning how to fit in and learning to go into the unfamiliar and the unknown, trusting. I don't know how this is going to happen. It's parents going into the first birth of their child. Pregnancy is one thing, but when you pick up that child at the hospital And mama's holding it while they roll her out in the wheelchair. And daddy comes around and helps her into the vehicle. On the way home, it dawns on you, if this little one eats, we feed it. If this little one is warm or cooled, it's because we arranged the climate for them. And for the next 18 years, we are responsible for their maintenance and their upkeep and their security and their stability and their provision. What have we done? It's an overwhelming sensation and realization sometimes it comes over us. If you go back to the book of Genesis, Bereshit chapter 19, if you look at verse 15, 16, and 17, it says this. And when morning dawned, the messengers urged Lot to hurry, saying, get up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city. And while he loitered, fooled around, took his time, dilly-dallied, as we say, the men took hold of his hand and his wife's hand and the hands of his 2 daughters, Yahweh having compassion on him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. And it came to be when they had brought them outside that he said, escape for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be consumed. If you look over in verse 26. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a post of salt. They couldn't grasp the seriousness of the moment. It hadn't dawned on them that when Yah says, I'm going to judge these cities and destroy them, surely he meant maybe not destroy them. Maybe it's going to be hard. Yah says to Israel, get up and get out of Mitzrayim. You can't stay here. Yeshua said in Matthew 6, verse 19 through 21, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. And we know this phrase very, very well. But listen to the impact of it. For where your treasure is, there your heart shall be also. And Luke 9, verse 62. But Yeshua said to him, no one, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the reign of Elohim. And Luke 17, verse 31 through 33. For in that day, he who shall be on the housetop and his goods in the house, let him not come down to take them away. And likewise, the one who's in the field, let him not turn back. What does it then say? Remember Lot's wife. Whoever seeks to save his life shall lose it, and whoever loses his life shall preserve it. If you were to take a piece of paper, sit down and write, what are the 10 things that are most valuable to me? The things that I consider the most valuable, the top 10. What would the first thing be? Your guitars? Your golf clubs? Family? Money? A siren announces that a tornado is imminent. What's the first thing you think of?
My pets.
Huh?
My pets.
Your pets.
That's who I live with. So they mean everything to me.
Getting my family to safety.
Family.
Family. The most valuable thing you own is your soul. You. I can't help my family if I'm dead.
That's right.
Right.
I can't continue my ministry if I'm not here to do that. Money I can replace, probably. Guitars, I'd hate to lose them, but they make them every day. Yes, you want to secure your family. Yes, you want to bring them with you to wherever it is that is safe. But the most valuable thing that you own is your soul. And your soul's value is exhibited and demonstrated by your willingness to obey him who gave it to you and has the authority to receive it back again. So if Yah says, get up, get out of here, you cannot stay, possessions and things that you think, well, I need to shove some stuff and some supplies, some beads, bullets, and band-aids, as Johnny said, and a backpack or something. If you got one already packed, some basic needs supplied, grab your backpack and get out of Dodge. Go. But I like it here. That's not the question. Whose side is Yah on? Those who hear his voice and are willing to obey him. That's who he moves for. His eyes roam to and fro in the earth, looking for one whose heart is for him. In Colossians chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. If then you were raised with Messiah, seek the matters which are above where Messiah is, seated at the right hand of Elohim. Mind the matters above, not those on earth. Does that mean that we should not be involved in anything in the earth? Nope. First day of working for the week, you need to be on your jobs.
That's right.
Mama's got to care for their babies. Somebody's got to make sure there's food in the house. Somebody's got to make plans for the rest of the year, for the summer, for vacation, whatever it is that you're going to accomplish. Your Sukkot plans should already be in the works. Your Pesach plans, they are. You better hurry. We need to get this figured out. There are things and plans and things to do, but these are not primary. We do these based on the foundation of, I've got my focus right. I know who's in charge. I know who's in authority. I know who's in control of everything. I'm not going to fear. I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to run. He's got this. Meanwhile, then I work as unto him. I labor for him. Let's ask this question then. Do we know how to manage our freedom in Messiah? He whom the Son sets free,
That's free indeed.
he's free indeed. Okay, you're free. Do you know how to manage freedom? Someone's been in prison. They've been in there for 10 years. They served their time. The doors are open. Whatever they brought in with them is returned to them, and they go stand on the sidewalk outside the gates of the prison. Now what do they do? Do they know how to manage life outside of what they've been involved with for the last 10 years? Life behind bars is a completely different society, a completely different culture than getting back into everyday life that you and I call normal. There needs to be a means of help and strength to get them transitioned. Someone who's come out of the military. They're accustomed to someone telling them where to go, when to be there, and what to do when they get there. They come out of the military. They come out of active combat. They need a restabilization, a process where they reintegrate back into the flow of normal life. Someone that's lived a simple life all of their life, they find Messiah. they become born again, do they automatically know how to live a born again existence?
No.
Do all the old habits just immediately fall away?
No.
Sometimes the miraculous happens and addictions are instantly broken. I've heard and known of that thing to happen. But more often than not, there is going to need to be somebody to walk alongside them and say, this is how you walk what you have found. This is how you walk it out. This is how you do this. It's a learned behavioral process. Israel was walking out of the environment of their slavery and of their limitations and confinements and constrictions. And it might have been a happy parade all the way down to the seashore, but once they got there, they didn't know what to do. So that the first sign of a problem, they panic because they don't know what freedom is. They're tasting it, but they don't know how to swallow it. So Israel had experienced the breaths of freedom in many generations. Now they're being led by Moshe out of the environs of Mitzrayim, and nobody's trying to stop them. That might have been something strange to them. We're walking. Where's the army? Aren't they going to try to keep us here? There's nobody trying to stop us. Let's hurry along. Yet Moshe, Yah's instruction to him was to intentionally take a route that led him into a trap. Now the other direction would have been a shorter direction. That was to go up the seacoast. But traveling along the coastal route would have caused him to encounter Mitzrayite forts that were established in the north. So they would have had to deal with that. And once they got on the other side of the forts, then they would have encountered the Philistines. And they would have most likely and most certainly have encountered a lot of warfare, and they would have gotten tired of it. Many times the call has gone out over some national fervor, some national incident where it's time to arms. Uncle Sam wants you, and young men will run and sign up to go fight for their country. At least historically, that's been the case. And sometimes in years gone by, in previous centuries, it was a very glorified understanding of warfare. We're going to go show our enemy what it's like. We're going to give them what for. We're going to go fix this. We're going to go win this war in one battle. The reality of warfare comes, though, when you're standing on a field or in a foxhole and your comrades around you are dying. People you just had a conversation with, and they're instantly gone. The fear that takes place, if you don't have training, you will panic, or else your training will kick in and you will try to survive. But those that are battle scarred will come home and say, I was very idealistic and naive when I signed up, but I never want any more of that again. Freedom is the same thing. We have this idealistic picture of what it means to be free. If Israel had gone up the coastal route, they would have never gone to Mount Sinai. It was at Mount Sinai where they were identified, where they were officially betrothed to Yah, and where they were given the Torah. Vayikra 18:28 says, so let not the land vomit you out for defiling it, as it vomited out the nations that were before you. Without the Torah, the land will spit you out.
That's right.
This is a special land. This is a unique land of all the lands in the earth. If you try to dwell in it without the Torah, without its boundaries, the land will reject you. So if Israel had gone the coastal route, the shorter route, and survived the fighting and got into the land, and then tried to drive the 7 nations of the Canaanites that were in there squatting on it, drive them out, they would have failed because they would not have had the boundaries of the Torah and the laws and commands of Yah to teach them how to live together. They would, even if they drove out the inhabitants, they would have slaughtered each other. Why? Because they were not rightly identified, rightly aligned. The priesthood would not have been established. The tabernacle would not have been built. The Torah would not have been given. It would have been a disaster. So Yah's way, which is almost always the longer route, is the better way. So what do? We question, why haven't you answered my prayer yet? I've been praying. I've been asking for this, and it's like you're delaying. Are you listening to me? And God is saying to us, I'm taking you the longer route. No, I want the shorter route. No, the shorter route is going to take you on a way that's going to end up as a disaster. The longer way is better because it includes all the stops and steps that I need you to experience before you get your answer. Here's where we might think. If Yah seems to be delaying the answer to your prayers, a good reason might be is that he is preparing you to be able to handle the answer.
All right.
Because the answer is bigger than what you're equipped to handle.
That's right.
Well, I'm ready for anything.
Prepared.
Spiritual freedom means fighting off the adversaries that would take your freedom away. What happened in American history? We won the war of the American Revolution, defeated the British right down the road here at Yorktown, and America officially became free from the oppressive rule of the British monarchy. What was the next war that we fought? No, that was prior. The War of 1812. Who were we fighting? The British. Didn't we just defeat them? What are they doing back? Those, when you have freedom, there are those who are going to come and try to take it away from you. Why? Because not everybody wants you to be that one that is free.
That's right.
Free people challenge others who don't know how to walk in freedom.
That's right.
If you have joy and you're rejoicing, even in the bad times, that you have a sense and a spirit of joy about you, those that are miserable don't like you.
That's true.
That's right.
If you're free from drama, you don't live that way. You're not always saying, they said, and she said, and he did. And all. If that's not you, those who live in Dramaville will not understand why you're not all up in their drama. Am I making any sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're the excluded one.
Yeah, you don't get invited to all the parties, right?
That's right.
When you walk according to the word, and this word defines you, and you make decisions based upon what the word says, and you tell people, I'm not going to be able to do that. Why not? Well, you can say my convictions, my beliefs, my religion, basically says, because Yah said in his word.
That's right.
Oh, well, what you just said to them is condemnation on their choice. Hey, Barry, I'm having a picking down at such and such, my house, and love you and your family to come down. Won't you come down and we'll have some music and play some cornhole and eat some pig? Man, it's going to be great. All of our friends are coming. I won't be able to make that. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Is something wrong? You got plans? Well, it's Shabbat. It's what? It's Shabbat. That's my day of worship. Well, maybe you can come down after that's over. Actually, I don't eat pig. You what? Man, it's good. We're going to have this and, it's barbecues, whatever. They're going to try to convince you in it. No, the scripture actually says not to eat pig. And that's why I don't eat pig. Well, what did I just do? I just condemned them. I have freedom from pig, not bondage that keeps me from eating it.
That's right.
That's
That's
right.
right.
There
Yes.
is a difference.
Yes.
I'm free.
Mhm.
I'm not enslaved. I'm free. But if I say it that way, I'm telling them, you're a slave to pigs.
Oh, boy.
How's that going to go over?
Not too good.
Your freedom is a challenge to those that are not yet free.
That's right.
That's right.
You're holier than thou.
So we would appear. We have to know how to manage our freedom.
Mhm.
And then there will be those that will condemn you for being free.
Mhm.
Well, I'm free from all of those regulations. You're enslaved to them.
That's right.
Now, here's the right way to look at it. Freedom without boundaries is anarchy.
That's right.
That's true.
Freedom without boundaries is hedonism, where
Right.
everything goes and nothing is wrong.
Mhm.
Hedonism is not freedom, it is bondage and enslavement to the flesh and its desires.
That's right.
Because man left without boundaries will always corrupt himself and prefer himself over everyone else.
That's right.
Once self enters the picture, then it's a system of competition and aggression and trying to better your fellow. If there is no law to say you shall not steal, what are we free to do? If you have it and I want it, I can take it. If the commands do not tell me that I should not lie, then I can tell you whatever you want to hear, whether it's the truth or not, and go on my merry way. Huh? Well, I wasn't going there, John. Spiritual freedom requires boundaries. Our system of decreed boundaries are not those that we made up. We're not living by church laws, congregational rules for order. Our creed here is read the scriptures and do it. The Torah is our boundaries. Without the Torah, man will run amok. He will deceive, delude, and destroy himself. Why did God give us the Torah? To keep us from destroying ourselves. All right, that's chapter 13. Anybody got questions about chapter 13 or comments? I've never finished the first chapter that fast. Well, at least not that I
I have a
remember.
question.
Yes.
On the idea that they were told to leave. Okay. There were speculation on how many of the Hebrews never left Egypt.
Uh-huh.
What happened to those that did not leave? Other than assimilate? Were they attacked? It's just a broad question.
All right.
What happened?
What does the term Hebrew mean?
Cross it over.
To cross over. If you never cross over, are you a Hebrew?
Huh?
My opinion, they would have been absorbed into Mitzrayite society and ceased from the lineage. They may have had a bloodline, but they did not have a lineage of belief that took him out. I don't know if it's Rashi, but there seems to be a one rabbinical commentator says that the reason for the plague of darkness was that Yah, under the cover of darkness, slew the Hebrews that refused to obey. And whether that's true or not, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean,
That's speculation,
speculation.
but it's a theory.
Yeah.
But were there Hebrews who decided to stay behind? I'm sure there were. A lot of the running rabbinical thought is some 80%. Now, again, that's rabbinical calculations and summations.
Right.
How many, we don't know. It doesn't say. But any who remained, I assume they would have been absorbed into the Mitzrayite culture, or maybe they would have been returned to slavery and died out.
Just curiosity.
Anyone else got a question? Sam?
Just curious, were they provided housing and food while they were slaves? Or did they have to?
They had a place to stay, it would seem, and later on we're going to see that they were claiming to have had pots of meat and bread without limit.
Yeah.
Now, is that a fond memory that wasn't actual reality? I don't know. But it would seem that they had somewhere to dwell. I mean, they were not evidently left to the elements.
But it must have had, I mean, to compare that to where they're out in the wilderness, and a little hunger or thirst, I mean, they're ready to go back to all that.
What are the basic needs of man? Food, water, and shelter. Food, water, and shelter. Where did they get all the tents? Did they have to make makeshift tents? Was there a tents R Us complex there in Mitzrayim? Do you remember the first time you tried to put up a tent? Did you get it right the first time? I remember Brian going to Sukkot and he had a tent that was about that long and about that tall.
Sure.
We were all wondering, how in the world is he going to get in that little tent? He did it. And one year somebody brought one of those tents that you take it out of the bag and you throw it up in the air and it all just flexes out and sits up on the ground. They throw it, you throw it up. It didn't flex out. It just kind of. Not everything works as advertised, right?
That's for sure.
So, I mean, learning how to live in the wilderness is an important thing. In chapter number 14, Yah gives the directions as to where they're to go. And he does so with great intention, knowing ahead of time what the responses of Pharaoh is going to be, what the response of Israel is going to be, and that response of Moshe. He knows, calculating all together, all the invested parties, what they're going to do. The process that he's taking them to is to set up Israel for a great victory. Another opportunity for Moshe to gain credibility and to ultimately destroy Pharaoh and all of his chariots. Yah's got this. So to set the trap, he leads Israel to the sea before a place called Pe HaHiroth, which means in Egyptian, a place of green grass. In the Hebrew, to translate it, it means a mouth of a cavern or a cave. And then the other point of reference is Migdal, which means tower. The general region is called Baal Zephon, which means the Lord of the North. They're heading to some degree toward the north. Now, it appears that the idea is that there were like towers of rocks with a narrow passage here to go through, and then the sea was ahead. There was a beach there, and that's where Israel seemed to be located. They went through the narrow gap. They're out on the seashore. They're spread out. They can't get across the sea. And here comes Pharaoh and chariots attacking them. If they close off that passage, they're trapped. They have nowhere to go. They see them coming and they panic. It'd have been better for us to stay in Mitzrayim and be slaves and be buried in Mitzrayim to be out here and slaughtered on the beach. Moshe, what are you doing? Why did you bring us here? Yah did it. Yah did it, and he did it intentionally. Pharaoh, once Israel's gone out of town, somebody comes in with a report of Israel's location, and Yah knows that his summation would be they're trapped. And the word says that they are entangled, is the word that is translated. Is translated from the word book, or as we would spell it, book. It means to be perplexed and confused and disturbed. So Israel, according to the word, Pharaoh receives a report, a news report. Sovereign. They are perplexed and confused and all upset in the wilderness, and they're down on the beach and they're trapped there. How does Pharaoh perhaps interpret that? He might have thought, these silly bunch of Hebrews don't know where to go and are already lost and confused. They don't know how to live free. What does that mean? They are easy prey. Someone who is not accustomed to living in a large city, been raised out in the far reaches of rural areas of America, raised up on a farm, really doesn't see anybody unless they go to town. You take them to downtown Manhattan. Now you take the same person from Manhattan and put them out on the farm. I mean, it's the same thing. But you take someone from a rural environment and put them in a big city environment, chances are somebody's going to take advantage of them or worse. When you go to Israel, they know immediately that you're an American. You cannot hide your American identity in a foreign land. They pick you up. The moment you open your mouth, they know who you are. They know by your attitude. They know by your dress. And if they're not a friendly, tourist-centered area, you're the next victim on their list. Here's a question. It's a practical question. How much street smarts does the covenant man or the covenant woman need? Several times we've been in conversation with either Amber or Andrea, and we will be discussing something other, and they'll respond, well, it's not done that way anymore. It's like, wait a minute. You know, when we were growing up, it was always done this way. Well, that's not the way it's done anymore. Things or times have changed. You ever heard that phrase? Old people? All you old people in here, have you not heard someone say, well, things have changed. Times change.
Yeah.
Andrea's very smugly folding her arms like, I don't.
My kids come home with new things too.
Yeah. So Can we just be full of the book knowledge and quote scripture at every challenge? Or do you need some practical street smarts about you as well? Hey, when I had a tent at Sukkot that was holding rainwater and we gotten it from Johnny and Cheryl. I don't know if we ever had a problem with it or not, but it had an awning out front and it was gathering water and it was pulling the tent down. Somebody who knew how to channel that and tie a string with some knots in it that I didn't know how to tie, fixed it, and it all drained away. I could have quoted all the verses that I wanted to. Though I go through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. That means my tent won't fall, right? No, it was going to fall. When you go through the waters, I will be with you. The waters were going to come through the tent if I didn't fix it. Huh? Gain some practical skills of life. Yeshua says to make friends with the unrighteous mammon.
That's right.
Do you be wise as serpents, but harmless as a dove? Yeshua probably knew how to tie all the knots too. I don't know how to tie, but so many. But somebody needs to know how to drive a tent peg. Somebody needs to know how to cook over an open fire. Somebody needs some life skills that is outside of your normal daily living. What happens if the power grid goes down for a period of time? Storm comes through. You're without power so many days. Do you have a plan? Will your children eat? How many Pop-Tarts do you have? Mommy, I don't like cold SpaghettiOs. Well, that's what we have tonight. Right? You have to have some life skills. Do you know how to manage your money? That's important. How many believers have quoted verses? You shall supply my riches according to your riches and glory. All of my needs according to your riches and glory. But they mishandle their money. Do you know how to live in freedom? When Pharaoh shows up, when your adversary shows up and his intention is, I'm going to recapture you and bring you back into my bondage and in my slavery. All your old habits are going to return. All your old addictions are going to come back. All your faulty thinking is going to come back to you. All your failures of the past, we're going to go back and live in those things all over again. Wait a minute. Yeshua delivered me from all of that. I don't have to. Israel panicked because they didn't have enough street smarts to realize, okay, the enemy's there, the water's there. Moshe, we got to figure out how to get across the water. Obviously, we don't have time to build a bridge or a pontoon. So what are we going to do? We need a miracle. And there are times where there's no other answer other than, Yah, I need divine intervention. I need your hand. I need it now.
That's right. Yes.
There were two responses. Pharaoh, when he heard what was going on, it says that he gathered 600 chariots, and then it says he gathered all the chariots of Mitzrayim. Well, all the chariots of Mitzrayim should have included the initial 600. But I love what the rabbis say, especially Rashi here. He says that not only did he get all the physical chariots, but he was summoning the spiritual forces that were above Mitzrayim and their spiritual chariots as well. In other words, he was going to fight Israel physically and spiritually. You have physical realm foes, people that will try to coerce you, people that will try to control you, people that will try to intimidate you, people that will try to get over on you. Everybody knows those people. But there are also spiritual elements that are after you. The devil doesn't live in every bush in your front yard, but there are times where your attack, your situation is not physical, it is spiritual, and we must discern the difference.
That's right.
A very powerful word you need to learn. Everyone in this room needs to learn it. You ready for it? It is the word no.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Until you learn to tell people no, you can say it nicely. They will try to intimidate you or intimate to you that you are, if you are who you say you are, you should be willing to do thus and such for me. And there are times that you need to politely say, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yes.
You can give them reasons why. Well, I have obligations here, there, and the other place, and I don't have opportunity to give you what you're looking for. So my answer has to be no. Or sometimes when they're firm and coercing and intimidating, you look at them and say, no. And they'll be shocked that you had the fortitude about yourself to say no. But you have to learn to say no sometimes. Sometimes people call and are requiring of me something that I don't have the opportunity or ability to. And I will just simply say, I can't do that for you, but I may know someone else that can give you the assistance you're looking for. Let me see. Well, give me their number. No, I will call them for you. I'm not going to stick somebody on your telephone number. Please don't do that to me.
Not right now.
Is that not wisdom?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I need somebody to come over and change my oil. Well, I may know someone that can help you, but I don't have the opportunity to do that right now. What am I going to do? I'll call one of the men here, Reverend Johnny or somebody, and say, this is the need. Can you meet it? Be glad to. Well, then this is their number. You can call them. But I'm not going to say, call Mitchell. Mitchell saying, well, I ain't got time to do that. Now he just threw me under the bus. Kabunk, kabunk. Let's use wisdom in the body of Messiah, right?
Yes. Right.
What is that? Street smarts. The other response to Pharaoh was Israel already was regretting living in Mitzrayim, and they panicked. What does their panic cause them to do? Point blame. When you panic, you will lash out at the most convenient target you can find. It's a spousal argument on a frequent basis. If you'd only done what I said we should have done. I'm not going to elaborate on that any further. But from the look on your faces, I know every one of you have heard that. I told you, or in a congregational setting, it's Barry's fault. Whose bright idea was it? Well, it might not have been my idea, but whoever's idea it was, when I heard it, I said, let's do it. Well, then whose fault is it? It's mine. It's mine. Right? So Moshe, it's your fault. What did Moshe say? He said, stand still. And in the Hebrew, it says, Yeshuat. Stand still and you will see the Et Yeshuat of Yahweh. The Et is the Aleph Tav. The Aleph Tav is a direct object indicator. It tells you what is the verb is being acting on. Stand still and you will see Aleph Tav what? Yeshua, deliverance, salvation. Yeshua is right in there. It is the same form of the word salvation that his name is derived from. The salvation that's indicated is attached to the Aleph Tav. Yeshua says, I am the Aleph Tav in the book of Revelation. The first and the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, I am the Aleph Tav. So it seems to be indicating here when Pharaoh, when the forces of this world attack the people of covenant Israel, when you feel trapped, the command is stand still and you will see Yeshua be your deliverer. There are times where you can't fix it. If you are someone who has the gift of fixing, is that you, Leslie? You feel compelled, I got to straighten it out and fix it for everybody because I'm a nurturer, I'm a comforter, I am a caregiver. And I can't stand to see somebody struggling or hurting. I need to step in and make it all better for them. You can't always do that. If you prevent somebody from hitting a hard, firm bottom, they'll never change.
That's right.
Because human nature is we don't change unless we think we have to. Is that true?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
But be encouraged. If somebody hits a hard, real bottom, they will do one of two things. They'll either get broken, which Yah can heal them, or they will bounce, which Yah will catch them.
That's right.
The root word here is yasha. The root. Yasha or yasha. It's an interesting word. The Arabic understanding of that word is make wide, make sufficient. That's the exact opposite of Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim means confinement, restriction, compression, limitation. But salvation means no, wide open and expansive place. So to move from restriction and confinement to liberty and expansive places, how do you do that? You have to have someone come and deliver you to that place. Yeshua is that deliverer.
Yes.
You are in a confining place, a restricting place. Yeshua is your deliverer.
Yes.
He says, I have the keys.
Amen.
Whatever door is locking you up, Yeshua has the key.
That's right.
In chapter 14, verse 14, it says, Yahweh does fight for you and you keep silent. In chapter 15, verse 3, it says, Yahweh is a man of battle. Yahweh is his name. In 15, verse 6, it says, your right hand. Who is the right hand of Yah?
Yeshua.
Your right hand, O Yahweh, has become great in power. Your right hand, O Yahweh, has crushed the enemy.
That's right.
What did Yah prophesy that Yeshua would do? He would crush the head of the enemy.
Yes.
Now here's a question. The people panic. Moshe says, stand still. You're going to see the delivering salvation of Yah. And then he turns around. Almighty Yahweh of Israel. And Yah says, why are you praying?
Mm.
Stop praying and act.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Does that not offend your religious sensitivities? How many times have you called somebody and asked them for help and they said, well, let me pray about it? 2 months later, you need to call them back and say, are you still praying about helping me? Maybe Yah's answer, but I mean, he's already given me an answer. He told me to call you for help. I got some Presbyterians agreeing. How do you know when it's time to pray and when it's time to act? If you act, somebody's going to challenge you and say, did you pray about it first? Oh, prayer time was over. It was time to do something. Well, see, that's why you messed up, because you didn't pray first. And someone else is going to challenge you when you say, but I'm praying about it. It's not time to pray anymore. It's time to do something. How do you know when it's time to do and when it's time to pray? What had Moshe already been told? Lead the people out. And you're going to bring them to this mountain. And you're going to worship me here on this mountain. That edict had already been decreed and declared. It was going to happen. What was in the way? The sea. When Yah has already declared and decreed his will, it's time to act. If you know what his will is, you don't need to pray, Father, show me your will. Because you know what his will is.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So act. Did Yah need Moshe to pray to him? He had already told him, this is how I'm going to intervene. This is what I'm going to do. What had Moshe already been trained in the use of? What had he been using to perform all the plagues? The staff. The staff was the symbol of authority, Yah's authority in the hand of man.
Yes.
Moshe, why are you praying? Do something. Hold the staff over the waters and command them to split, and I will divide the waters. Now, did that happen instantaneously? The word says a wind blew all night long.
Yes.
Well, what kept Pharaoh from attacking the people? The pillar of fire that was in front of the people moved around and guarded their rear and was a wall of fire between Pharaoh and Israel until the waters were divided. Yah's got a plan.
Yes.
While he opens a door in front of you, he'll set a defender behind you so that you don't get overrun from behind. What is he saying? Israel, I got you back.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Yah combined the natural and the miraculous to aid Israel. He caused the wind to blow to reveal a dry land bridge through the sea. The wind blew so powerfully, it not only revealed the land bridge, but it dried it out. That's some wind.
Yes.
That's a hot wind. Pharaoh, meanwhile, was driven mad by his anti-Semitic mindset that when the waters pursued and they went in, Yah lifted up the cloud of fire. He saw the way that they were going to cross. Charge. They can do it, I can. But it says that Yah caused the Mitzrites to become confused. Now who's confused and perplexed and disturbed? And then it says the wheels did not, or their chairs did not get stuck in the mud. They fell off. The lug nuts came loose. That's bad news.
Yes. Yes. You got time to fix them.
So Israel's marching across, and the Mitzrayite armies out there trying to fix the flat. Meanwhile, they look up, and here comes the waters. The captain of the Pharaoh army, his name was a Mitzrayite name. His name was Bob. Verse 30 and 31 of chapter 14. Thus Yahweh saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Mitzrites, and Israel saw the Mitzrites dead on the seashore. And Yahweh saw the great work, Israel saw the great work which Yahweh had done in Mitzrayim, and the people feared Yahweh and believed Yahweh and his servant Moshe. Now, in chapter 15, verse 11, it says, who is like you, O Yahweh, among the mighty ones? Who is like you, great in set apartness, awesome in praises, and working wonders? Who is like Yah? Answer me that. Who is like him?
Nobody.
Nobody. So if no one or no thing is like him or compares with him or can compete with him or overcome him, why do we need to be afraid?
Right.
Well, that's good spiritual speaking and good preaching, brother. But on the practical side of things, life still has its disadvantages and challenges. And sometimes we do get afraid. We teach our children a simple verse when they're very little because we want them, especially when they're afraid of the dark going to sleep. Anybody remember what the verse says? I'll start it. When I am afraid. Y'all grew up scared of the dark, didn't you? When I am afraid, I will trust in him.
Never heard that.
Never heard that.
That's Grassy Creek.
What was the verse? When they chose
Joseph
him.
was
Yeah.
chosen.
It
Yeah.
was Mary. That was her verse in the beginning.
Yes.
Isaiah.
So if it concerns us, it concerns Yah.
Yes. Yes.
If it's about us, it's about him.
Yes.
When you were parenting little ones and somebody in the neighborhood was picking on your little one, Jim's already shaking his, oh, no, you don't. If Charlotte were to come home crying because some kid up the street somewhere knocked her down and kicked on her, I guarantee you, Brian or Andrea or both would be over at their house saying, that's not going to happen again.
That's right.
Your child did this to my child. Don't get between a mama and her kids. Don't get between Yah and his children.
All right now.
If you're faithful in walking before him, even if you fail, even if you don't have it all together yet, if you belong to him and you're in covenant with him, to mess with you is to poke your finger in Yah's eye and see, you're asking for trouble.
Yes. Right. Yes.
And I've told people before, you don't know who I am in league with. Now I knew that they wouldn't understand my scriptural language, so I told you don't know who I'm associated with. You don't want to mess with me, and you don't want to mess with my family.
That's right.
What did they do? They backed off. Was I using intimidating language? No, I was telling them the truth. I've seen the messenger who guards my home. You don't want to pick on him. But do you really? You walk in that assurance. You walk in an understanding. My Yah is for me.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean you can be obnoxious and unruly and arrogant and conceited and threatening. That means you walk uprightly, you do what is right, you love your neighbor as you love yourself, you worship Yah with all of your heart and all your being and all your soul, and you trust in him that when adversaries rise up, your Yah will step up and defend you.
Yes.
And does that ever mean that you don't have to open your mouth and say something? Oh, yeah. You'll have to stand your ground. But the ground that you're standing on is set apart ground.
Yes.
And Yah's got you. What am I saying? Do not be afraid of this present world and its systems.
That's right.
That's right.
Do not be afraid of those that have sold themselves out to do what is unrighteous in the earth. But they carry titles and they have authorities and so on and so forth. Our Yah has got it.
Yes, he does.
Whose side is he on? He's on the side of the righteous.
Yes. Yes.
So after the Red Sea revival and the prophecy outpouring that takes place in chapter 15, they're dancing, they're prophesying, they're decreeing, they're declaring things, and Yah is going to do it. It's all glorious.
Mm-hmm.
After they get finished with the prophecy campaign, 3 days later,
Wow.
let's say it ended on Shabbat. When the sun went down, everybody went home to their tents and delighted and almost giddy from all the prophecies that were declared and all the dancing that they'd done.
Come on.
Wednesday shows up. Actually, Tuesday shows up. 3 days later, on Tuesday, the spirit of grumbling set in.
Mm.
Grumbling here comes from the word loon, L-U-N, loon. And the basic meaning of the word is to lodge overnight, but also to murmur. How are lodging and murmuring connected? When you lodge, it's a place that you take your stand. It's where you began to dwell in for the moment. You might say that the people lodged a complaint against Moshe. They took their stand on a particular attitude or frame of mind, and that was a negative one. And they began to murmur and grumble and complain. What are we to learn from this? Revival, fervor, emotions, and euphoria will often fail in the face of hard facts. What was the hard fact? They didn't have any water to drink. You can shout and dance and operate in the spirit all you want to, but when you get thirsty, physically thirsty, and nobody thought to bring any water, somebody's going to start asking a complaining question. Whose responsibility was it to bring the water? Not me. I thought it was you. When nobody could figure out who the water supply person was, they went to Moshe and Aaron and said, y'all should have brought some water. Or Moshe, you've been out here before. You should know where the water is. We're thirsty. So they come to a body of water, but nobody can drink it. It's bitter. What does bitter waters do for your intestines?
Turn them upside.
Say again?
Upset you.
It will upset it, but there is a practical medicinal purpose to bitterness.
Involuntary cleansing.
If you're infested with parasites, one of the cures is walnut shell, which is a bitter. There are certain bitter things that will cleanse your digestive system of parasites.
Acorns.
Huh?
Acorns. They're pretty good.
Yeah. Now, the people couldn't drink the water or didn't drink the water. I'm sure it got, but Yah showed them a tree. Tree is Etz. Etz is a symbol or a indicator of the righteous man, who is like a tree planted by the rivers of water. A righteous man is symbolized by a tree, specifically an oak tree. Yah showed Moshe a particular tree. We're not told what variety it was. And he threw it in the water, and the water became sweet. So they were able to drink the waters. They came out of that. Yah says, your lesson here is to understand that if you will obey me, I will not put any of the diseases of Mitzrayim upon you. Given credence to the understanding of the diseases that were in Mitzrayim may have been caused by parasites, may have been caused by some part of their ingestions, their environment. It's a thought, not a doctrine, it's a thought. Now let's go quickly to chapter 16 and 17. After a vacation in Elam, Elam had 70 palm trees and 12 pools of water. That's an oasis. And they have a vacation. They're sitting under palm trees and they're enjoying these cool springs of water. The cloud picks up and starts moving. They start out into the wilderness. So while we think we may have arrived at the Victory Oasis congregation, where the glory always is refreshing, where blessings never cease, and all your prayers get quickly answered, after all, isn't that what we want? Freedom from disruption. We want freedom from stress, freedom from issues. We never want to get sick. We just want to go do our jobs and never get tired and come home and have a nice evening at home, and the food's always good, never burnt. Life is easy. Isn't that not the American dream that everybody is coming to America for? They have envisioned a life that is far better than what it is wherever they are. But what happens on vacation? You rest, unless your wife plans every day to be full of activity. You rest, you get refreshed, so that the next level of testing and refining can start. When does vacation stop? The next day on the job. You realize real life is back. I remember coming out of Sukkot the first year we went to Surrey. Anybody remember that? How did we get to Surrey? A ferry. So I had our little pop-up camper thing, towing it behind my truck. I'm on the ferry. We've had a great Sukkot. I'm refreshed. The afterglow of Sukkot still on me. We're rejoicing. The feel-good is all over me. I pull off of the ferry, start down the road, headed toward Williamsburg, and somebody does something crazy in front of me. The word idiot comes out of my mouth. And I'm yelling into my windshield at what this individual has done in front of me. And I no sooner did that, and I was like Kiva hearing the town crier. I realized how quickly the euphoria of Sukkot can go flying out the window, because I'm already returning into the mindset that I had before I came to Sukkot. Your spiritual highs can only last so long. Reality sets in, and when it does, you need to know whose side Yah's on. He's on your side, whether you're flying up here or living down there. 30 days after they left Mitzrayim, just 1 month, they run out of food. The food supply is gone. 30 days. What happens? Word says they began to lust after the foods that were a part of slavery and bondage. It's amazing. You know, they forgot about the whips and the chains and the back-breaking labor and the slave drivers and Pharaoh's genocide to try to wipe them out. All they could remember was, in their estimation, pots that were full of meat and bread without limitation. You have to ask yourself the question, were they glorifying the past because of the pressure of the present? No one's saying, well, at least we don't have chains. At least our backs have been healed from all the whips that we've been put on it. I may have scars, but I don't have open wounds. I may be hungry, but I know that if the Father brought us out here, He'll help us to find a way. Somebody's going to help us. But here's the other. They brought flocks and herds with them.
Yes.
It wasn't like that they were going to starve to death. They could have killed an animal to eat.
Yes.
Now, when they were, but what were they? They're complaining. Looking back with open eyes, we will see how genuinely lost and desperate we were when He delivered us. If you're going to remember your past, remember it accurately. Have you ever told a story from your childhood and your siblings say, I don't remember that? You have? Or else they say, no, that wasn't the way it was. This is the way it was. Of course, it always glorifies them more than you.
Yes. Yes.
They were the hero and not you. That's the way it was. When you look back at an attitude of disgruntlement and frustration with your present, it will always skew the past in favor of your present. The reality is you don't want to go back. And we all have that mindset. I wish I could go back to when I was some certain age. I got to tell you, I don't think I want to go back and live in my past. Because we're deceiving ourselves. I will have all of the understanding and knowledge that I have now to go back then. No. Father, please don't take me back to my teen years. I was not very bright back then.
You either.
The choices that I wouldn't want to go back and make the same dumb choices all over again. Well, maybe I would make a different decision. No, I wouldn't.
Or you make a worse one.
I might have made a worse one. Yeah. For some of us, we barely survived our teen years, let alone to try to go back and do it again.
Yeah.
But what is it? What is that thing that goes on in our brains about wanting to go back to our past and redo our past? What is it saying to us? There is something dissatisfying about our present. I think God would say to us today, learn to enjoy where I have you right now. And if you made crazy, stupid, and dumb decisions in the past, learn to make better ones now. Whatever you based your decisions on then, it was faulty. Make good decisions now based upon truth. I brought you this far and gave you the truth and the stability that I have so you can make a better decision about your future. I've taught, others have taught erroneously in the past of a panic about the future. I'm not panicked about the future anymore. There's more in the news now to disturb you than it was some number of years ago, but I'm not panicked over it. Because God keeps saying, I got this.
I got it. Yes.
You trust me. You obey me. You walk with me.
Yes.
I got this.
Yes.
And if we leave this life, we pick up in the life that is yet to come.
Mm-hmm.
You can't lose.
That's right. You see again. That's right.
So Yah's resolve to this is manna. Little wafers, honey tasting wafers that are on the ground every morning. Honey buns, Johnny. So they're halfway to Sinai. They're in the middle of nowhere. There are no shade trees. There are no Walmarts, no convenience stores, no highways, no fresh food, and they're unhappy and grumbling. And Yah says, I will send you manna and I will send quail into your camp. Bread in the morning and meat for supper. Let me ask you a question. It's a very personal question. What does Yah have to do to make you happy? Do we even know? I guarantee you, every one of you have looked at your wife or your husband at some point and said, what's going to make you happy? Because we all get in that attitude of mumble and grumble. This ain't right, and that ain't right, and this never works, and I don't understand, and I wish it was, and I don't understand why it is, and blah, 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 and they're looking. Another way of saying what will make you happy is this question: what is your problem?
Exactly. Yep. Could be worse.
The other way to say it is, what's wrong with you? I know you've heard that one. You, what's wrong with me? Don't ever answer that way. Wrong answer.
Wrong answer, yeah.
It may be the truth, but never admit
Don't
that.
say it.
Never say that. Because then you will be unhappy. But back to the basic question. What does Yah have to do to make you happy? And the second question to that is, do you even know?
What more can he do? What more can he give?
Well, evidently, Sam, there are mindsets that we have sometimes where Yah, I don't have what I want. I don't have what I think I want. I don't have what I think I need. I'm lacking in something. I don't understand what's going on inside me. When people are not happy, they start blaming people.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a very mature person to realize the reason that I'm not happy is something about me.
That's right.
It's what I've chosen to think or what I've chosen to allow myself to feel, or it's the choices that I made for myself. I don't like my circumstance. I don't like the lack of my circumstance. Whatever the issue is, it takes a very mature person to say, I'm the one who made myself unhappy. But it's so much easier to say, if only they had done or said or didn't do or didn't say, or a situation, why don't they understand why I'm not happy? they don't understand because you don't know. Happiness is something that comes and goes. Every day is not a happy day.
That's right.
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 That's right.
That's right.
No.
That's right.
Mitchell's going to crank down on a wrench and it's going to slip off the bolt and his knuckles are going to bang. I'm not prophesying. I'm just saying that's mechanic reality. It happens. You're going to pour yourself into a child and they're not going to understand or appreciate it and they're going to come back at you. And you think, you don't understand what I'm doing for you. Your boss is not going to understand the sacrifice that you made and they're going to fuss about something.
Yes. Yes.
Your children are not going to appreciate how much time and effort you put into making dinner for them and they're going to turn their nose up at it and not want to eat it. Or your husband or your wife. I'm talking in Realville here. We're just talking.
Yes.
And it's not going to be happy day. However, happiness is an emotion that is contingent and based upon circumstance. The spirit of joy comes from the Ruach HaKodesh.
Yes. Yes.
Even when you're sad, even when you're depressed, even when you're down and feeling unhappy, you can still have a claim on the spirit of joy.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Weeping may endure for the night, but
Yes.
joy
Joy.
comes in the morning. There is a line
Mm.
where we say with David, "Oh my soul, why are you cast down inside of me? Have hope in Yah." Again, it takes a mature person to say, the situation is ugly and I don't like it. But I choose, while I'm unhappy about it, I choose the joy of knowing that Yah is for me. He's on my side, and more importantly, I'm on his side. I choose joy.
Amen.
And that doesn't mean your emotional uplift is immediate. You're going to have to invest in your joy.
That's right.
You're going to have to start singing a song. You're going to
Yes.
have to call somebody and say, "Help me.
Yes. Pray with me.
I'm not having a good day.
Mm.
I need a little encouragement today."
Yes.
And they may not understand, so you hang up on them and call somebody else.
That's right.
It may take 2 or 3 for you get somebody and say, "Help me." They say, "I got you, brother." But also, it behooves us to look around and see those that are struggling and say, "I see you struggling. But I want to call you today and say, I've already been in prayer for you this morning. I've already been calling your name in prayer." Do you know what that does to somebody? Especially when they're hurting and struggling and dealing with stuff. It gives them hope. And it lets them know, okay, Yah's been stirring up the army in my behalf. I guess I need to go ahead and get my armor back out and put it on and maybe try to get a hold of myself and take a few steps upward here. I'm going to be practical here. Another step to get your joy on is to stop using the stuff that took your joy away. If you've been listening to the negative, you've been reading the negative reports,
That's right.
too much of the news, too much of the wrong spiritual environment and music or text or whatever, you recognize, okay, that's a joy robber and I need to get out of that.
That's right.
And I need to change my venue, change my focus, take a walk, take some steps, look up the sky and realize it's all good. He's got this.
Yes. Yes.
Change your environment. I'm talking about maturity here and learning how to walk this out.
Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy by the own words that come out of our own mouth, because it goes right back into our ears.
That's right. That's true.
Yeah. There's a couple of verses in the book of Acts, chapter 5, verse 40 and 41. followers of Yeshua had been preaching and causing a stir, and then they were brought in before the religious authorities, and they were trying to figure out what to do with them. And it says they, that is the religious authorities, heeded his, that's Gamaliel's advice, and having called for the emissaries, beating them. Why did they have to put that part? Beating them, they commanded them that they should not speak in the name of Yeshua and let them go. What was their attitude? They indeed went rejoicing for the presence of the council because they've been counted worthy to suffer shame for the name of Yeshua. Now, if they just said, don't y'all be speaking in his name anymore, now get out of here, that'd have been one thing. No, they had to insert that line and said they beat them. We don't know how severely and what they beat them with, but they suffered physical pain and were physically assaulted for their obedience. Yes. And they rejoiced that they were worthy to suffer for him. All right. There's more that we could go into, but I'm going to leave it at that. Let's answer some of those questions again. Do we know how to manage our freedom? Do we know what Yah has to do to make us happy? Do we know where our joy is from and how to get it back and how to help someone else get theirs? Do we know that Yah will put manna on the ground for us and water out of a rock? You know, normally bread comes up out of the earth and water comes out of the sky, but Yah brought water out of a rock on the earth and brought bread down out of the heavens. And Yeshua said in John chapter 6, he said, that manna on the ground, that was me. What does it say? He said, I am the bread from heaven. So the command was, every morning, Sunday through Friday, go in the morning and get the amount of manna that you're going to need for you and your family that day. And don't worry about trying to save some. It'll rot. It'll be enough on the ground again tomorrow. Trust me. And on Friday morning, get enough for 2 days. Because there won't be any on the ground on Saturday morning, on Shabbat. Of course, on Shabbat, they're out there looking for manna. And Yah's saying, how long? You bunch of knuckleheads not going to obey me. Did he say knuckleheads? I believe he probably did. Let me clarify. You bunch of Hebrew knuckleheads. Are you not going to obey me in my Torah? But if that Yeshua is the manna that was bread from heaven, that means that every morning they went out to find Yeshua. And they gathered enough Yeshua to get them through that day, knowing that there will be a fresh supply of Yeshua tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Not only is his mercies renewed with every morning, but there's fresh revelation of Yeshua available every morning if you're seeking for it. And men, you go and gather Yeshua for your household. Yah help me, help us.
Yes.
But every morning, the men in this room should be praying over their family for Yeshua to be revealed to him and to those that belong to him.
That's right.
Yeshua, step into my house today. I thank you, Yeshua, that you are my supply. You are our healing. You are our deliverer. You are our protector. You are our king. You are our shalom. You are our righteousness. You are our covering. Yeshua, you are our goal in the Torah. Show up today, Yeshua, and supply the hunger and the thirst inside of us. How long did it take me to pray that? Less than a minute. Less than 1 minute. But if the men in this room will pray that over their homes and their families on a daily basis, something to that effect, you should see a change and a difference.
Yes.
And ladies, when you wake up, pray in agreement. My husband, the father of my children, they have declared Yeshua over this house. May I be an instrument of Yeshua. Yeshua shine through me, work through me today. Amen. Being practical, being real. It's a challenge. I'll try to meet it. You do the same. Amen. All right. Any final thoughts or questions before we pray?
I have just a little bit of a question. Your granddaughter a while ago, when we were talking about the manna on the ground, her first response was, "Ooh, that's nasty. You got food off the ground to eat." But I never even thought about it like that. I just thought it's manna. It came from the Father. Of course, it's going to be good. I just think it's interesting. You bring it down from the heavens to the ground. And made the men go pick it up.
So if it's on the ground, how do you get it?
You have to pick it up.
Okay, but what are the mechanics of picking it up off the ground?
Got to bend over.
Oh.
You got to bow and bend over. And if you get a little dirt on it, you need some minerals, trace minerals in your diet as well. A little grit to help with digestion.
That's right.
I guarantee you, though, that same granddaughter, if she dropped a cookie on the floor,
Right up.
she's going to pick it and go.
No doubt. But it was just.
If it's your house has got the 5-second rule and it takes longer than 5 seconds, what do they say? 10-second rule.
Anyway, just a thought. I never thought about it.
I had yeah,
Just,
out of the mouth of babes, right?
weren't they able to, I read somewhere they were able to eat it different ways. Boil it, bake it, fry it, I don't know what
They could grind it up, make it flour, and create bread out of it. I mean, they could do a lot of different things for it. I think it's Rashi, if I'm not mistaken, Rashi said that if they wished that they could taste chicken or whatever, that it would take on the flavor of whatever it is that they would desire that they were eating. I don't know, but nevertheless, at some point they got tired of the taste of it.
Same old, same old.
Without Yeshua being fresh to you, if you're only camping out on what you already know, you're going to get bored.
Sometimes that's maybe the mindset of some as you go through the Torah, year after year after year after year, the same manna, year after year. Same old, same old.
I'm trying to freshen it up, George.
I'm just saying there's attitudes out there. Oh,
I didn't
do it
pull out
again.
2 or 3 years ago and come back and just preach the same thing.
No, it's fresh. And every time we do go through the cycle, there's a fresh revelation every time we go through it.
That's
Yes.
It
right.
never fails.
Yes.
It's like, we're going after, this is the heart of God because it came out of his mouth. So every time we go through the Torah, it peels back another revelation of his heart. And how many times we've looked at the word and said, I don't remember that being in there before.
When did they put that in there?
They stick that in there. Fresh revelation each year.
All right, let's stand together. Thank you for those that are watching online. And if you want to share the link to your social media pages, you're welcome to do so. If you want to go home and do the same, that's welcome. Please do. When you watch the video online, hit the like button. It'll push it up the list a little bit on YouTube. I don't know why it just does. Let's receive the blessing of his name. Yivarakaka Yahweh, Vayishmareka. Ya'er Yahweh panavileka, Vikuneka. Isa Yahweh panavileka, V'yasem leka shalom. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you, and he may grant unto you shalom. Amen. Shema Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Yahweh, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotze lechem min haaretz. Blessed are you, Yahweh our God, King of this universe, who has brought forth bread from the earth. In the name of your Son, Yeshua HaMashiach, who is our bread of life, Father, and our Redeemer, we give you thanks and praise.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.